For about 4 years now, the government of Qatar has been hard at work preparing for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, and one of its elaborate plans is to build a new city from scratch. But how is Qatar building an entirely new city for the 2022 World Cup? In this video, we will show you how, so sit back, relax and watch until the end.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
Qatar won the bid to host the 2022 World Cup, and ever since, plans have been in motion to welcome the football-loving globe to the emirate. As you already know, Qatar is not a very big country with a small landmass and a population of 2.1 million inhabitants. So it did not have the social infrastructure to host so many tourists at once coming to the country to enjoy the World Cup. So what did the government decide? It decided to simply build a new city from scratch. The development has been ongoing for 6 years now, and it's already nearing completion. The city is called Lusail, and it is set to be completed and unveiled in 2021. How much will the project cost in the end? No one knows except the officials involved, but estimators peg it at several billions of dollars. Now, what makes Lusail a novel development is because the entire city was constructed in under 6 years. In sharp contrast, many host nations of the World Cup take about 6 years to build their stadiums in preparation for the games. So for the government to complete the project in under 7 years is outstanding and worth commending. But despite all the positive news and statements of congratulations coming from different quarters, when you dig deep into how Lusail was built, questions will begin to rise. Since the Lusail project commenced, human rights abuse accusations have been leveled against the government of Qatar. Critics have argued that the construction sites were unsafe for workers, and for years, advocates had clamored for FIFA to take away the World Cup rights from the country. These calls were unsuccessful, with Qatar still billed to host the World Cup. There have also been calls for the games to be shifted to winter because of the intense desert heat experienced during summer, but these calls have fallen on deaf ears. Qatar has a very small indigenous population with its 2.1 million inhabitants composed of foreign nationals working in the country. There are hundreds of thousands of guest workers in Qatar, all of whom are on visas sponsored by employers through a system called kafala. Kafala is a medieval and an unfair system which allows employers to bring workers into the country to work for them. What makes kafala a controversial system is that it prevents workers from changing employers without the express permission of their current employer. Although there are dozens of construction projects taking place all across the country, Lusail happens to be the city with the highest number of projects, with a capacity to accommodate 450,000 residents close to the capital city, Doha. But before we explain the current labour practices in Qatar, let us first give you an overview of Lusail. Lusail is a 14 square mile region in Qatar. This site is where the new city stands. There are many conflicting reports about how much the city costs, but conservative estimate the final construction cost at $45 billion. The smart city has a futuristic design with a luxurious hub surrounded by water flowing in from the Gulf region. Lusail has residential neighborhoods, abundance of social amenities, and technologically advanced infrastructure. The city will also play host to the World Cup. At the center of the city is Lusail Iconic Stadium, which is just one of 10 built in preparation for the Games. Lusail Stadium was designed by British architect Norman Foster. The 86,000 capacity stadium has 0% carbon footprint and is entirely powered by solar energy. It has a set of devices worth $500,000 called man-made clouds to protect spectators from the sun. The clouds float above the stadium to provide cover, and they are kept afloat by solar-powered clouds. When Russia hosted the Winter Games at Sochi, the Kremlin spent a fortune on the Games, and experts called it the most luxurious Winter Games ever. Well, the Qataris were impressed with what the Russians did with the Winter Games and the World Cup, which they hosted in 2018. So it appears that the ruling monarchs of Qatar are looking to outperform the Russians in terms of luxuriousness. Major games like the World Cup and the Olympics have become big deals for super-rich nations, and with the way things are going, these competitions are no longer cultural events, but opportunities for the rich and wealthy nations to flaunt their wealth. When Qatar made its plans public to design a new city, many countries began to drop their bids because they knew that they could not offer what the Qataris were bringing to the table. Major international competitions have now become events only accessible to the highest bidders who can afford to host them. Among the numerous sights and sounds of Lusail, 22 hotels have been built, among other lodges, to accommodate tourists coming in for the games. There is a theme park, a golf course, and a mixture of commercial and residential neighborhoods crisscrossing the entire city. Of the 22 hotels in the city, some popular ones include Fairmount and Raffles Lusail, 7th Hilton Hotel, and the Hilton Salwa Beach Resort and Villa, which stretches for 3.5 kilometers. In addition, there is the Desert Falls Water and Adventure Park, sitting on a 57,000 square meter site with 28 slides, surfing dunes, wizard mats racing, and a series of torrent rivers. We also hear that visitors will be able to enjoy laser tags and go-karting races within the premises. As for Lusail itself, the plan is for the city to accommodate 45,000 visitors during the World Cup, but after the event, the number is expected to increase exponentially to over 400,000. The city is also the first sustainable development project to be undertaken by the state of Qatar, with smart street lighting and watercourses powered by eco-friendly electrical networks. The Lusail's project is funded by the Qatari Dayariya Estate Company. The concept was initially conceived in 2005, but the development took shape after the government was announced as the host for the World Cup. Besides its plans for the World Cup, Lusail also serves as the showpiece for Qatar's Vision 2030 development plan, with a series of water projects in the pipeline. The city is also an extension of Doha, with both cities only sitting 15 kilometers apart. Doha and Lusail are connected by state-of-the-art subways and main trains, with developers hoping that the plan will attract residents to the marina area, which is filled with business districts, shopping malls, golf courses and amusement parks. As for the housing projects, planners expect a growing population in the country, so Lusail will serve as one of the cities that will accommodate the growing population. Over the last 2 decades, the resident population has quadrupled, so emerging cities like Lusail are important. For instance, between 2004 and 2010, Qatar population grew by 128%. This growth was not as a result of high birth rates, but a rising increase in foreign workers. The population has continued to grow, so the need for housing and other social infrastructure is only going to increase. With so much happening, and as Qatar prepares itself for the World Cup next year, one question needs to be asked. How is Qatar able to build an entire city from the ground up, as well as 10 stadiums under 6 years? The answer is not far-fetched. Qatar is a country that is built on the back of migrant workers. Of its 2.1 million inhabitants, more than 70% of them are migrants who work in the country on an employment visa. Sadly enough, many of them, especially those working in the construction domain, live and work under poor conditions. Since the country won the rights to host the World Cup, more than 6,500 workers have died, with about 2,711 from India as at February 2021. The human rights abuses caused by the country's kafala system is well documented. However, what has stirred the emotions of human rights advocates is the terrible conditions that workers are subjected to. Migrant workers from Nepal, Bangkok, India, Sri Lanka make up a significant portion of the migrant population. There are also considerable Pakistanis working in the country. But there is a reason why citizens from these countries are selected for work in Qatar. Workers from these countries are willing to accept poor wages compared to what workers from Western countries are willing to accept. Furthermore, Westerners are less likely to accept the inhumane working conditions that workers from other countries are willing to tolerate. There are many opinions concerning Qatar hosting the 2022 Football World Cup Games, some of which showed great admiration for the work done by the government to prepare for the Games, and some negative opinions as well that even demanded that the World Cup should be taken away from Qatar. Well, what about you? What do you think of the matter? Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumb up if you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Take care.